All right, so welcome back to another video, guys. Apple is getting ready to bring some noise to the industry. So I wanted to revisit my iPhone 7. Now the iPhone 7 is a phone that I've had since launch, no use from it, but I have used it to record videos and things like that, some 4K footage. And there's a lot of advantages to using an iPhone or some Apple products when you do want to do videos for YouTube. And one of the main things is having unlimited recording capabilities from 1080p 60 frames per second or 4K. And the quality and footage from these phones are actually pretty good. Let's take a closer look and revisit the iPhone 7. We're about 2 or 3 months away from the iPhone 8 or X or whatever it's going to be called. So let's take a look and see how this one's been holding up. Alright guys, so basically in this video I just wanted to recap and show you that the iPhone 7 is still alive and still kicking. This phone right here is got some upsides to that other phones just don't have, and one of the main upsides this thing has is software. The software on the iOS products and just in general Apple products, the software syncs up so well amongst itself that it's kind of hard to overlook. Now, while I've said on record many times that Apple's iOS platform on phones is not my favorite, and then also that iOS is dated, yeah, I stand firm on that. It does appear to be dated, and it's not my first choice for a phone. However, again, there are some perks to having this somewhat stale or dated design from Apple on the software. It's strength. The strengths of this operating system is just amazing over others. Android is probably the only other operating system that a lot of people might talk about when they start to talk about iOS. But the fact is iOS runs really smooth. And, you know, Apple is kind of bragging about how there's not a lot of phones that are on the latest operating system from Android. Well, with Apple, you don't have a choice. It's not like they give you a choice. So I thought that was kind of funny when they were talking about that, saying, you know, we're 90 something, you know, % of people adapted to our software. Yeah, you're not giving us a choice. So, but with that being said, this is a solid operating system, period. It's a great operating system and it's smooth. I mean, it's very fluid. And some of the processes that are in Apple devices are strong. Now, Apple is on the verge of bringing out their latest iPhone soon. And we're about, let's just say we're 3 months away. It's going to sell like hotcakes. That's just the way it is. There's probably not a lot of people switching to an iPhone and leaving Android. However, there are going to be several iOS people that have the previous generation iPhone, which is the iPhone 7. Go ahead and buy the iPhone 8 or X or whatever it's going to be called. Now, speaking about the software, it's fast. But that doesn't mean that it doesn't have its own issues like crashing and things like that. It happens to all operating systems. So there's nothing that you can actually do about that. It's going to happen to your device. The resources pile up and you need to clear the RAM. And that's just what it is. Now, aside from that, Apple is known for having some fantastic cameras on their products. And I don't deny it. They have fantastic cameras. The camera footage taken from this phone right here, as you can see, it is great. The footage, the quality of the photos, it's really solid. Now, video footage on the iPhone, Apple does a lot of things where they're recording commercials and they're saying shot on an iPhone. Let's be real here. They're probably not just using an iPhone and holding it. They have gimbals. They have all these special things to do the videos. So be real about that. You can go out and try to take the same type of footage on your phone, but it'll be a little tough. You know, you're going to need some stuff. And yeah, I have a gimbal and, you know, I could probably prop up the iPhone and do some really fancy stuff. But with that being said, Apple goes out of their way with those commercials and the average consumer doesn't. So that's just a ploy to get you in. But I will give them credit where credit is due. The cameras on these phones are really solid. I don't have a complaint. They're not now the front camera. I shouldn't say I don't have a complaint. The front camera definitely is not as good as several other phones I have, and that's just what it is. Apple does not have the best cameras on the market, but they're really good. And speaking of cameras, there's unlimited 4K recording on these. You know, you don't have any limits. So if I want to do 4K, I can do 4K. If I want to do 1080p at 60 frames per second, there's just no limits. It will let you record until your memory's out. And this is a 256 gig model, so I can do a lot of recording. So aside from the software and the cameras, you know, battery life is pretty decent. You know, speakers, it has dual speakers, so they're obviously really loud. It's got the single down here, and this doubles as a speaker. I wish more phones would adapt this like vibrate switch right here. I really wish they would. But you know, OnePlus is the only one kind of doing that right now, and applaud them for that. I think all phones should incorporate that in some kind of way, instead of having to go into the system to put your phone on vibrate. Little small things like that mean a lot to consumers, you know. So overall, man, the iPhone 7 is still a good phone. I mean, you really don't have a reason to upgrade and buy another phone. I always tell you guys that if you don't need a phone, don't upgrade. You know, just keep what you have if it's working. So just a recap, you know, just a quick update on the iPhone 7. It's still working. It's still in pristine condition. Tempered glass is still on there, still in this case, and it's still getting a little bit of use. So I'll be using this like 24/7 here for a little bit. You know, just to kind of get myself back in the groove for the new iPhone that's coming, because I more than likely will probably have it. And that's just what it is. So it's your man Jay Will, just a quick update, nothing fancy, just a quick chat, let you know the iPhone 7 is still kicking strong, no problems. It's going to get iOS 11. And I think that's going to be where iOS or iPhones really take off, because Apple is really doing the most with their software and adding things bit by bit. However, they're taking too long for certain things, and they need to come on with it. So Apple, if you're listening, come on with it. You know, bring this iPhone out and come strong with it. We already know what iOS 11 looks like. Let's make that hardware good, Apple. It's your man Jay Will. Stay tuned for more coverage on Apple products. It's coming.